Now we'd like to discuss the provisional process in a municipal election. First of all, some of you have a unique situation where your city or town actually borders or straddles county lines, and you may have 2 or 3 counties that you make the returns of your provisional materials to. Please label your provisional boxes for the appropriate counties and make sure you have the voter drop that ballot in the appropriate box so the registrars from their county can verify and validate their provisional ballot. In your supply box, you're going to have an instruction booklet that goes over the provisional process. When your first slowdown comes that day, if you're the inspector or provisional officer, please read that book. Also, some of you are going to have a variation of that as well. There are some that will put an orange sticker to disable that ballot from being scanned through the tabulation device. Others will tear the corner off. So follow the instructions of your local municipal clerk and just follow their instructions. Also, there's an outline you should hand to every provisional voter that sort of explains the process to that voter so they understand what they're going through. I would suggest you hand that voter a PB3 form, which is a provisional ballot form. That would be my first step. Once you've called the registrars and you've given them the voter's name, their address, their date of birth, their driver's license number, the last 4 of their social security number, they come back and say that that voter can't be found on the list, and then they are directed to vote a provisional ballot. When they fill that form out, there's a sworn statement at the top corner. If the voter signs that, then you proceed with the provisional process. If they refuse to sign that form, that verification or affidavit, then they're not entitled to vote provisional, and you've gone as far as you can go with that particular voter. Ask them to go get registered and hopefully see them in another election. Once they've signed that, you as the inspector will take that form back and you'll fill out your portion, which is the reason why they're casting a provisional ballot, and I want to cover those now. The reasons for a voter casting a provisional ballot are as follows. The person's name does not appear on the list of registered voters. Person's registration status cannot be determined by the provisional ballot officer. Voter is unable to comply with the voter identification requirement. The voter has requested but claims to have not voted an absentee ballot. Inspector has knowledge the person is not entitled to vote at the precinct and challenges the person. Ballot is cast after the legal time for closing the polls due to a federal or state court order extending the hours of the polls. Once a voter completes the PB3 form and you've checked the reason, make sure everything is properly filled out, the form, all boxes are filled in, and the voter has signed the bottom of that form. At that point in time, the voter will sign a provisional roster. They will not sign the regular sign-in books that your other voters sign, and then you will issue them a ballot. Once the voter has completed all the paperwork and signed the book, issue them a ballot, either place a sticker or tear the corner, whatever your municipal clerk instructs you to do. Hand that voter envelope PB1, which is provisional ballot envelope 1. It's simply a secrecy envelope for them to seal their ballot in once they complete marking the ballot. Once they seal the ballot envelope 1, the instructions will say to place that in envelope PB2, which has a line that you print the voter's name on, and then you also, in the bottom right corner, log in which line they signed on that provisional roster. For instance, they signed line 1 at the National Guard Armory, National Guard 1, and so on. When they return that to you, ask them to drop the PB2 envelope into your provisional ballot box. And again, if you have multiple counties, make sure that voter drops it in the correct box for the county they're cast provisional for. You are left holding the PB3 form that they have filled out. Place that in the provisional PB4 envelope. If the reason for the provisional ballot is due to an inspector's challenge, a PB3 form would be completed by the voter. The inspector would check challenge on the reasoning. Then a challenge form would also be completed. Once the voter marks their ballot, returns it to the inspector, please separate the challenge form. The PB3 form and the canary copy would go in the PB4 envelope. The white copy of the challenge form would be deposited in the provisional ballot box, and the pink copy would be handed to the voter to take with them once they leave the polls. If the reason for casting a provisional ballot was lack of proper identification, the voter has until 5 p.m. Friday following the election to present that identification to their local Board of Registrar's office. At the end of the evening, you would also place the roster list that voter signed in that envelope as well. When packing those supplies for return that night, you have a seal. It's a white seal with a red print. It's a provisional ballot box seal. Make sure that box is sealed top and bottom when you start that day. And you also have a seal that covers the insertion flap or the drop slot on the end of the box. Cover that up and reference how many provisional ballots were cast at your location that day. If you have 0, please don't put anything in the provisional box. Just indicate on the end of the box there are 0 ballots contained. And also make sure you return that PB4 envelope with the roster clearly indicating that you had 0 ballots cast, and reference inside for the registrars to see no ballots were cast in that precinct that day. If you had a provisional ballot, make sure you indicate on the end of the box how many ballots are in the box, and on the PB4 indicate so the registrars will know how many ballots they have to verify when the returns are brought back to them. The returns that night will be given to the city clerk at the end of the municipal election, and the city clerk must give those PB4 envelopes to the registrars by 12 noon the following day of the election so they can be verified, and then the provisional count will take place 7 days after your election. Please make sure the PB4 envelope is placed in your plastic bag. It is a white envelope and goes in the bag with all the other white envelopes. Do not seal the PB4 in the provisional box nor in the record of elections box. I want to reemphasize those of you that your city lies within multiple counties. Number 1, make sure your voter signs the appropriate roster when they're signing the booklet that day. Number 2, make sure they drop their ballot in the correct county's box, and when you return that night, make sure the correct roster is placed in the correct county's PB4 so the registrars have the appropriate information to verify those provisional voters.